Coordinator of Guidance. And welcome tonight. We appreciate you all coming. We have our two new counselors are here tonight. We have Katie Koshin. If your student previously worked with Cheryl Ranieri, you now have Katie, who's now running out the door to get Sarah Potter. Sarah Potter hasn't made it in the door yet. But if you previously worked with Judy Johnson, both Cheryl and Judy retired at the end of last year. If your student previously and you worked with Judy Johnson, you now work with Sarah Potter. So we're happy to have them. We're excited to have them. We just finished, and you guys can wave if I need to speak up. Do my best. So we're almost done. We have one more class. Due to our rotating schedule, we do our best to see everybody as fast as possible, but with the half day tomorrow, we have one more class to see on Monday, and then we will have met in workshops with every senior in the building. So there's one class remaining. But we want to share this information, some of it, with you all. We meet with our seniors. We kick off with a workshop to cover everything, kind of the nuts and bolts of the application process, and then we meet individually to talk about their actual applications. Just for point of reference, can I get a show of hands how many folks this is your first application season, first pancake? Okay, most of the room. Okay, that's great. And even if you had older students who've gone through the process, it changes every year. Everything changes. The one constant is everything changes. So we do our best to cover everything with students. And in these workshops, we speak very generally. Because everything we say, and even tonight, might not apply to your student. But we want to give them lots of general information. So just some information to show you. These slides will be on our website tomorrow, so you don't have to make copies. We have a student who bravely is recording this for us, and we hope to have it on our website by early next week. So folks who weren't here, if you want to watch it again. We said to your students, we're doing this so we can share things so you can have better conversations with them. And also you don't have to say, what did they tell you? Because we'll tell you tonight. So just a few details about Winchester High School. Last year, 90% of our graduates, and we meet with all of our seniors at the end. They tell us what their future plans are. We have students who do everything. We have, the majority of our students go on to college, but we have students who go to work, take a gap year. Maybe they're starting to do, they're doing more schooling, they're doing a postgraduate year, they're doing a gap year. So many different things, and we meet with them all before they graduate. They can't get their cap and gown unless they meet with us. So we know what the next step is and what we can do, whether it's sending a transcript somewhere or sharing other information. Maybe we're helping with a reference for a job. We meet with them. One of the questions we ask is, if you applied to schools, were you accepted to at least one of your top 3 schools? Ideally, we want them all to get in their top school, but we also know how competitive the landscape is. Last year's class reported 90% got into at least one of their top 3 schools. So that's really great. We try to make them think of, yes, you might have your number 1, but we want you to have a couple. Because you might be a qualified applicant at all 3, but they can't take you for whatever reason. So we want to have that mix. So we're happy to see that. And the thing that we emphasize with all of our students is keep every door open. So even the students who may have already told us, I'm joining the military, I'm taking a gap year, something else, we put them through the process because, as you know, they change their minds. So we want them to have all this information should they change their minds along the way. And it happens. One thing I tell every group, and I'll tell you, we have the same finish line, okay, in June, graduation. We're all going to get there at different speeds. We're all going to go through this process a little bit differently and at different speeds. Doesn't mean one's better than the other, but we want them to understand that, okay? So as you know, for your students, this is probably their first really, really big choice in life. So we want them to put time into it. We're very happy our English department gives us them for an entire block so we can help them. Yes, we know some students have already started their applications or even completed them, but there's some information they didn't have. We want to go over things with them. We want to make sure they have everything to present themselves in the best light. And we want them to be thinking. And right now, a lot of them are thinking, I have all the time in the world because I don't have a deadline till November. But we also know how fast October goes by and how fast September is going. So we talk to them first and foremost. We continue what we did with them last year. So we did workshops junior year, and we had our night program, where we talked about kind of make that big list. Shop, take a look at different things, because different factors will change it. Hopefully they've visited a school, they've done something. We have school reps that come, we have over 70 coming. We've already had a half a dozen here or more since school began. BU was here today, we had about 50 students in the meeting with them, with the rep. We encourage them to go to those. We can't have every school come here, but we try to get as many as we can, especially our top schools. So those typically happen during wing block, which seniors don't have, so they're available. We try to reserve those for the bigger schools, and we have them before school. The full list of who's coming is in Naviance. If your child has a school in their Naviance, they will also get an additional reminder, and it's also in daily announcements every week who's coming for the week. We really encourage them to come. It's a great way for them to ask a question. Again, they might be doing some fact finding, still trying to figure out their list. They might have a real specific question because they're doing their application. Sometimes they just want to listen and to demonstrate some interest to the rep that's here. Because most of the time, I'd say 9 out of 10 times, the rep that comes here is our regional rep and will be one of the people that are reading their applications. So it's a great way for them to get a face to go with an application. And college reps have amazing memories. They will remember the person in the soccer sweatshirt. They will remember the student who talked about the tour they had. They will remember things. So it's a great chance, even if they don't have a question, to hear what maybe somebody else has or what the rep is sharing. So we really recommend that. The other thing we recommend, if you haven't already, now is the time to have a serious conversation with your student, okay? We really think it's important that they know that what they can and can't do. So if you have limitations, please share them with them. There is nothing more heartbreaking than a parent asking a counselor in April to help tell their student that they can't go to a school because the family can't afford the tuition, which I know is very high right now. So please have those realistic conversations, what they can apply to, where they can go, what it will be, because we want them to know that. Okay? Other things to keep in mind, these are things that we talk to the students about. We're now finishing our 3rd week of school. Their schedule should be set. Now we understand sometimes they bite off more than they can chew, and they need to change a class. They need to change a level. That can happen, okay? But now is when we want to do it. We tell students, if you're worried about a class in mid-September, how hard do you think that class is going to be in mid-January? Really hard, okay? So we want to make sure they make any changes before we send information to schools. Unfortunately, Common App, Naviance, only lets us we send an initial transcript once. If something changes, for better or worse, we have to fill out a form and notify them that we've changed the student's schedule. So we don't really want to draw attention. So if we're in honors calc and it's too much now and it changes to pre-calc or senior pre-calc, let's make that change now. That's not a realistic change. But if it's going from honors to college prep, let's make it now and they don't know that it was ever changed. Because if we change it later on, they will know. Yes?
My son may submit his absence again. When should he might choose class to accept the week?
So we'll talk about that when we get to transcripts. Students can change their schedule at any time, but if he submits his application now listing a class that will no longer be there, especially a core class that's changing, he have to complete something because he's sharing information for a class that isn't there anymore. So we want to wait and get that. We always want to present them in the best light possible. So that's a quick conversation. Because after the fact, once they've applied, they've sent their application in and then they make a change, especially if it's a core class, we always say to a student, before you change that, contact admissions and ask them if will it impact their decision. This is very big once they've already made decisions. If they get an acceptance, they're all conditional. If something drastically changes, the school can say, you're no longer the applicant, okay? So it's important to know that. So we want to make sure everything is as accurate as it can be. Understanding, on occasion, things are still going to change, and that's okay. But something we can prevent now, let's do it. We give them the lesson, please take your time. This goes with applications. We explain to them whether it's for school, an internship, a job. Proofread, proofread, proofread. Nothing stands out more in an admissions committee than typos. We want them to do that. We want them to check. Read those instructions carefully, okay? Every school is similar, but they're also a little bit different. We know that everyone likes to speed read. This is the time to wait and read everything. Once a student applies to a school, they will get an email back saying, thank you so much for applying to Boston University. Here is your applicant portal. And then they create that. We can't see that. Guidance counselors can only see Naviance. So we can see that they submitted. We can see that we've sent our documents. But we can't see if they're missing something else or if a decision's been granted or the status. So we tell students you must keep track of those. Okay, that's super important. And with deadlines, we cannot miss a deadline. Politely, colleges don't care what has happened. It shuts off. If you have a November 1st deadline, at 11:59 p.m. it will shut off. It will shut off even if your student is in the middle of submitting. So we tell them this is where we got to beat a deadline, not meet it. Plus, we can't help them on Halloween, okay? We won't be there at 11:59 at night. You will be there when the meltdown happens. We don't want that. If something's missing, and there's so many little pieces, sometimes students can't see what they're missing. That's where we want to be available to them and help them when they say, I can't put this in, or something's missing. We also know they look at an application for so long, it's with any of us, you miss what's missing. So we want them to get those in early, but also please understand, getting them in super early doesn't give you an advantage. Admissions reps are traveling all over their region right now. They are not reading applications at this time, okay? So please, we want them to get them, we say, give yourself that 2 weeks in advance deadline, okay? Because we want to make sure we have all those pieces. All the pieces are there. I know they want it done, and it can be done. And if it is complete, they can certainly submit on their timeline. But we're going to get into kind of the pieces that we send. Yep.
Can you begin an application and save before submitting?
For most schools, yes. They're using the Common App for most, and it auto-saves
Okay, and then you submit at the end.
when it's complete. And we'll talk about that when the majority of schools are Common Application, so it won't let you submit if a piece is missing. It will let you submit if a piece is incorrect, but not if it's missing. So there are multiple parts in most applications. Again, every school might be a little different. There's personal info, which hopefully they're asking you about. You will be shocked how many of your children don't know where you work, what you do, or when you graduated from school. So they're going to ask that. Okay. They also will have, they'll have their main essay usually for school, and they may be questions, or we call them supplemental questions, essays. They're smaller for most schools. Some are large, depends on the school. There's our supporting documents. And then there might be other documents depending on how they're applying. Could be test scores, could be a self-reported record that we'll talk about, could be early decision forms they have to fill out, and some schools require first quarter grades. Okay, there's lots of pieces, so we kind of go over each piece when we meet with them. These are the same information that we shared in February. Those supplemental essays, their main essay, they tell the reader something about them that hopefully isn't on their application or maybe goes into depth. We want them to share something that they're passionate about, they're interested in, they spend their time with. It is not a journal. We do not want to drop any questions whether we're ready to go to school or be on our own. So we always say if you can't tell your grandmother at Sunday dinner, that shouldn't be your essay. Okay? I just want to say that. So this is again where we got to spell check. We encourage students, counselors are happy to read those essays for them. We read it more as an admissions counselor. Their English teachers, past and present, are always happy to read. They are our grammar police, so we like that because they're demonstrating that they can write a well-written and well-formed essay, which we know our students can. When they get to those individual supplemental questions, why UMass, why engineering, why Bentley, why Babson, we want to make sure that they're writing for those schools. Sometimes it's very similar, but there is nothing less appealing than if I'm the Babson rep and I open the supplemental that tells me how much I want to go to Bentley. And it happens. Again, we're like, oof, put that thought in for a second. This is where your eyes are key for them. We want to make sure of that. Also to be mindful of the word and character limit. A lot of these questions are 150 characters. That's 2 sentences on why you want to be a certain major. It's not paragraph. They're not looking for a paragraph. They're looking for insights. This is where a student can showcase what they already know about the school and what pulled them there. The major, the the faculty, the opportunities that the school has. That's where we want to showcase that they've done their homework. We don't want to be kind of bland. We got to remember who is our audience for all of these things. Always remember the audience. They're trying to market themselves, for lack of a better term, and admissions counselors want to admit them by nature. So that's super important that they share these things. And we know a lot of them started working on the main essay last year in their English class. They may have worked on it during the summer. I always say, let it sit when you're done for a week, let it marinate, then go back to it with fresh eyes. So then they can see and they'll go, I wrote that. So we want to have them do that. When we say the word transcript, it's more than just their transcript. Over the summer, you all received a copy of your child's transcript. We just gave them another copy. They all have the updated GPA scale, so the updated GPAs, but now it includes their senior courses. What they have in their hot little hands right now is what we send to schools. Their GPAs will not change until the end of the year. This is the end of the school year in June. We only update at the end of the year, and the transcripts only update when we have completed a course, because transcripts by nature are a record of completed courses. So that's on there. As part of that package, we send a whole file. Most of the time, we're able to send them electronically, which is great, because it gets there faster and we can track it. Teacher recommendations, if they have those letters, and if a school accepts them. Some schools don't accept them. Plus their counselor recommendation. We also, both counselors and the teachers fill out additional forms. And then we send our school profile, which is a snapshot of Winchester High and Winchester as a town for someone who isn't familiar with us. Okay? Most schools are very familiar with us, but sometimes we have students apply different places, we have students apply internationally. It really gives them a strong snapshot of how great the town is, the school, the rigor of our academics. If you ever want to see it, it's on the school website. It's on the guidance website. We have now been moved on the new website to under students. So scroll down. We're happy to not be in an academics list anymore, but we're under the students list. So you can see that. When we talk about recommendation letters, we can only process them for Winchester High School staff, and students can only send 2 teacher recs, up to 2. Some send 1, some have 2. Some schools, again, don't even take any. We always try to send both when we have an option, okay? We can't process outside ones. Some students might get an outside letter from an employer or a clergy or a coach. Some schools accept them, some don't. It will tell them in the Common App if they accept them, and they will invite them through their Common App. Students are never to process and mail letters. They invite them, and their counselors will show them how to do that, and they can see what schools will accept them. So we'll walk them through that process if they have them. The majority of schools don't accept them, so most students don't have them, but some do. So you always want to check. You can see it on the school website, and you can see it in the Common App as well. All students during our workshop, we made sure they had a Common App. Even if they don't have Common App schools currently on their radar, we have it because we interface Common App with Naviance to send all documents, no matter how your child applies. They could be applying on a I'm sure anyone has paper application anymore, but some have special school-specific ones. No matter how they apply, we send our information through Naviance. So that's why we have them create a Common App so we can link them together. So in that, you can see some students will submit their test scores. Since COVID, test scores have been optional at the majority of schools. Some higher schools, some more competitive schools, have slowly been adding back requirements of test scores. It's on individual websites, and that's an individual decision. A student might share some with scores with one school, but not with another. That's a piece that they'll go through with their counselor. You can see in Naviance under the Compare Me section, you will see information for students who applied and were accepted from Winchester and were successful. So you'll see that in there. That's the data we want. One second. And that information has actually, by the main office over the summer, been retroactively updated to our new scale, GPA scale. Those students' GPAs didn't change, but in a beta site, they were all updated. So that information is now apples to apples. Yes?
How granular is this compared, for example, comparing with the students that were accepted at the EU, for example? Can you see how?
Yes, you will see what the average scores and information was for students from Winchester who applied and were accepted in the last 5 years at that school. You'll see their GPA, every school that's in Naviance, they'll be able to see. They'll see their GPA, they'll see their ACT, SAT scores. We always remind students, vast majority of our students take SATs, not ACTs, so that number can be, well, statistically, I think the SAT number is perfect because it has hundreds of students in it. ACT might have dozens of students or fewer. So we always say refer to the school averages or the information on ACT because ours isn't a good representation. Our statistics class would tell us that. So you can see that on there. You can also see the scattergrams, which we think are even better. So you can see where your student fits compared to those students. We only give 5 years. We never show the current class because we don't want someone saying, oh, I know you're applying to be you, that must be my friend. We don't show the current class. We show the last 5. When I first started here, we used to show 10 years, which to me, the world has changed. So 5 years is what we show right now. So you can see that on there. You can see the averages. And this is, again, where they'll talk to their counselor to decide, hey, I'm within the ranges. I think I'm ready to go with an early application. Or I'm not within the ranges. Maybe I'm going to wait and apply regular so that school can factor in a great first semester with the hardest classes I have. That's individual. Okay? Yes?
For the SAT score, there's a thing of the super scoring. Is that what we want to do?
Yes, it's shown in Naviance as a super score.
Okay.
And schools all super score. So, but they have to send the scores that add up to the super score. We don't send any SAT or ACT scores. The students self-report in their applications, and if the school requires official scores, they must order them from that testing group. Yes.
What is the super score?
Super score, great question, is maybe you took an SAT twice, and you did better on math the first time and English on the second. They'll take the better and add them together. So, but you will have to send both sittings so that they can add it. And colleges just look at the super score. So we want them to do that. We might have some students we added an SAT date in September, which was new for the College Board. So we had some students test last weekend. We have students who might be testing in October. There's a November test date as well. We're not a test site for November. As of last Saturday, there were still seats in Winchester in October, so if you're looking to test. But if they take those tests, it's not too late. So if you took a November test, you can still submit your scores to a school. Might be a very quick turnaround, but if you apply on November 1st and you're waiting for a score to come, they will wait for them. Most will wait, but we always want to check the school website. They will tell us how long they will accept them. And they're very good about sharing that information. I mentioned as part of the, you might send this. So again, we look back at the, love my new toys. You might send your test scores. You might send an early decision form. Early decision forms, you all have to sign a form in the Common App or before the school in their application that says if they get in, they're coming. And they're willing to withdraw their other applications if they get in. We as counselors have to sign a separate form that says we will only send their information to one school early decision, and then we will not send any more information if they've been accepted. So again, a little piece that might apply to some students. We typically have about 30% of the class that get accepted to early decision. Again, early decision is binding. This is the school for me, and I'm going all in on it. Accepted.
Early decision.
I believe, yes. Excuse me. We have 372 students in the class. Yes?
Yes. So I heard there is a ED1 and a ED2.
So I'm going to ask folks to hold these individual questions to the end. Most schools don't offer early decision, by the way. The majority of them offer early decision. Some have added early decision 2, which is a January deadline, because they realize not everyone's getting in early decision, but they still might have a number 2 school. You can only apply to one school early decision. If you get in, you're done. You can't apply anywhere else. You shouldn't. If you don't get in, you are free as a bird to apply anywhere you want. And you can, if the school has early decision, apply early decision. You're released because they didn't accept you. But please understand, early decision 2 runs into regular decision. So many students will up their the acceptance rates are much lower for early decision 2 because you're pulling a lot of the regular applicants who say, why not go for it? Yes.
When you start the decision, so for example, if you don't get accepted, that's the decision, do they roll the application?
No, you are done. If you do not get accepted, that school is done with you for this application cycle. Early decision, they have 2 options. Well, I should say the school can defer you to regular. Most of the time with early decision, they will not. If you get denied outright, you are done. Some schools will defer you, saying we need to see more information, but it's not often. Not as often as you think. Those recommendation letters, again, you just process. And then some schools will require quarter 1 grades. We will get into this as the quarter ends. The quarter doesn't end until November 7th. On November 14th, hopefully, report cards go live. Students have the ability to request first quarter grades are sent to, if they want them sent to a school. We do not automatically send those. I will send information as we get closer to the end of the quarter. A lot of students who apply early decision, the schools may require those. The students have to fill out a form. Again, I will post all these on our website, and the students will get it as well. There'll be a link to it. Actually, the presentation will be posted on Monday because we want to finish the last group. So they request them. If they ask us to send quarter 1 grades to a school, they are viewable by all of their schools. We cannot pick and choose on that. It is an all or nothing. Again, most schools don't require them, but hey, if you're doing great for first quarter and want to send it as an additional piece of evidence, we're happy to do that. But everyone will be able to see it. So we just want them to be mindful. We wait, we'll remind them. Again, if a student is applying early decision and they know they require it as part of their application, they can request it now, no problem. But we will, again, remind students as we get closer. They'll also have the tiniest of windows. So grades will come out in the afternoon and they will have to tell us the next morning if they don't want them sent, if they need to be held, if something's wrong. Because we have, the students that need them, that require them, schools typically want them right away. Yes?
So if you send them, you can send them like on the 7th or 8th, or do you wait?
No,
until-
we can't send them until report cards go live. So
they-
your children might know their grade, but we cannot send them until report cards are published for the entire building, and we give them that 12-hour grace period to take a look at them. So we cannot send them early.
Do you send a progress? Can you send a progress report if requested?
If requested, but typically, even halfway through first quarter, no, we would not send that, because it's not a final grade. We only send quarterly grades. We really can't send a progress report because it's not accurate, because it could change one way or the other. Final grades are what we can send for a quarter. We went through transcript requests. Remember, transcripts are everything. It's it's the letters, it's the profile, all those different pieces. We walked your students on how to request them. It's fairly intuitive, but Naviance likes to add extra buttons. Are you sure you want to send it? Click here, confirm here. We walk them through it. We tell them, wait to request until you know you're applying. If students knew in our workshop, I'm definitely applying to UMass, we say, go ahead and request that transcript. We can't send anything until after October 1st. The teachers that agree to write for them, and they're writing for a lot of students, they have until October 1st. We follow them. We tell the students, don't worry, that is me on October 1st who will go see teachers if they're not in yet. We take care of that. So we need to get them all in. We have to process them on our part. And we start sending them around like the 5th. We get all the pieces together, and we just go. Because again, we're sending most electronically. The one thing I did say to your students, and I hope you remind them, please thank whoever wrote for them. Say thank you. Update them at the end of the year with your plans. Teachers here are conditioned by guidance to not ask, have you heard from anywhere? Because they don't want to put them on the spot. So we want them to update, okay? Because teachers, very well-meaning, would ask, hey, how's it going? And the student might have just gotten denied at their top choice. Bad mix. So it would be great if they thanked them, because they are spending time on their time writing, and they're all junior teachers. So they are writing, a smaller portion of our faculty is writing all the letters. So we encourage them to do that. Once they make a request, yes?
That little on Naviance, where there's a little scroll, info for the letters.
Yes, after October 1st.
And then we'll know if they say one or both.
Yes. But again, that's up to me. None of you should have to contact a teacher, but we also, teachers will put them in. We have to then go through for each student and change it to that it's there. There's a whole process. So it will not be all done on the first, politely. I don't even know what day of the week the first is. But it will take a couple days because again, we have 376 seniors. The majority of them have 2 different letters. So we have one admin who's working fast and furious, but it will take a couple days. Do not worry. Yeah, they will get both letters. There's no, it's just when they get processed and they're going. Again, we're not going to be sending anything till probably after the 5th. We have to process then all the requests. So again, they're getting there in plenty of time. For most applications, I think the earliest we have is October 15th. They will be there. Do not worry. They're electronic, so they might be close on that date, but after that, we go as fast as we possibly can. Because you have to remember, on average, our students apply to about 10 different schools. So you're talking 10 requests, 376 kids, and then there are more. So we're talking about 4,000 requests that happen within a 2-month period. So we go like lightning, we go as fast as we can, but we also want to make sure they're accurate with getting everything. One thing you will see, this is the place to look. Once they've made a request, and this is something we remind students, they must make a request. If they add schools after our workshop, they may have only had a couple in, maybe they had a bunch. If they add schools, they have to be in both places. We send through Naviance, so if they add a school in their Common App, we will not know that. We will not know to send any information unless they make a transcript request. So they might have to make a couple transcript requests, but it shows them when they go in there what schools they haven't requested. If they request for a school and they don't apply, that's okay, it stays in cyberspace and gets purged. The school doesn't download a thing until their application gets there, right? They're not gonna process anything they don't need. You can see in Naviance, under colleges I'm applying to, the list of schools they have in there, which we always wanna make sure matches their Common App. There may be more schools in there because not every school takes the Common App. Several of our popular schools only use their own application. The California State Universities are not on Common App. Endicott College, Georgetown, MIT, they do not use the Common App. So students have to make sure they're in Naviance and request their transcripts. You will see requested, then it will switch to no request, requested, and when we send it, it will become sent. Here's the other big thing. Again, they're getting that portal as soon as they apply. So it all triggers when they apply. So that's why we want to have, if they're sending test scores, we want to have them waiting in cyberspace. We want to have their transcript waiting, and when they apply, it downloads as a complete package. If your child's already applied, they instantly got a message that said their application is incomplete because they didn't have one or more of those pieces because they weren't available. We want to make sure they're getting everything in plenty of time, but also you might see sent, but they might in their portal say, they don't have my letter, they don't have my transcript. Larger schools process tens of thousands of documents. If you look at UMass or Boston College, they have processing centers off-site. It takes weeks for them to reflect in the student portal that they have everything. The key is they want to look and see that it's sent from us, and then we always say, give it a couple days, we want to give it time, because remember, everybody, forgive me, in the world is sending their stuff at the same time. They're processing again as fast as we are, and it might take a week or even 2 in a bigger school to show that it's been received, okay? If it's been a couple weeks since it's been sent, we'll always follow up, but we can't follow up for 2 days, because we just have too many. So don't worry, they all get there, I promise. So, but that's where they need to check those portals. Make sure something, they might say, I don't have that. We didn't request a transcript, so we didn't send your teacher reps. You have to tell us, they have to tell us. We show them this, yellow means you, is what we say to the students. You have to send your application. If your application doesn't get there, nothing else can go, right? If they're sending official scores, they have to send them. They can self-report in their Common App or on their applications, but we can't send their official scores. Sadly, you have to pay for those. Welcome to commerce with private companies. And students have to request those transcripts, the whole package. They make a transcript request and we send all the pieces. We automatically send mid-year report cards, just the averages. So do you have A for first quarter, an A plus for first quarter, an A minus for second quarter, we send that average an A. We send averages for every school that we've sent an initial transcript to, because every school pretty much requires mid-year grades. They automatically they're sent. Final grades come from that meeting that we have in May, and they say, here's where I want my final transcript to go, and we will send them. We send them after graduation, because I have to have them, it has to be noted that they graduated. You'll also get a hard copy of that at home. We keep hard copies here at the guidance office for 60 years, transcripts by law. So we've got those. So we will send those home to you as well. And that will have the final updated GPA. We walked them through, like I said, the Common App, because we wanted everyone to have an account. The majority of students will be applying to schools that accept that. If they're applying to other schools, they're going to take that same information and put it on that application. Endicott is not asking for anything that's not already in your Common App. It's just another layer, or as I like to say, the way we have to apply to most of us apply to schools. The Common App, believe it or not, has been around for 40 or 50 years, but it didn't become super popular until about 25 years ago. So it's changed a little bit. They all have an account now. We ask them to use their personal email, because we do find sometimes we have trouble students getting emails from outside. Their Naviance is their school email. And just a reminder, you share the same account with your child in Naviance. We only issue one account. So they have to share the login, and they're told that when they get it as sophomores. If you happen to change your child's password, please tell them. We had a lot of those. Also, if for some reason you're in there and can't get in, you try more than, once you try like the third time, it will lock you out. And then we have to reset it. We can't tell them what a password is, but we can always reset. We can send them a quick code the next day if you're doing it at night. But after 2 times, because we had a couple students, we kept telling them, please don't go more than twice. And a couple students got locked out for the majority of their application, the workshop. But that's okay, we have plenty to do. Again, the Common App, it's a platform that students can apply to. Not every school has it. It has 6 sections, very specific sections. The best thing in the Common App is the green check mark. Again, it will never let you submit an application unless you have all the required materials and all the questions are answered. Anything that has a red asterisk must be answered, okay? And then it will give them a check for all the individual sections. And even individual sections will have individual pieces. So we recommend the students sit with your parents to fill out that family section. They'll ask you about siblings, ages, where they go to school. They'll ask information about you all. They will ask basic info, which the students can do. We make sure they all had Winchester High School in their application so that we're linked into it. We worked on the education section, and we gave them a tip sheet. We gave them all the answers. The eager beavers who did it over the summer with folks had to correct a lot of stuff because they didn't know some of the stuff because we didn't know it until school started. We also had them list all their current courses using the exact titles because our goal is to make it as easy as possible for a reader to get through their application. We don't want a student abbreviating a class and then getting a grade from us going, wait, what is this class? So we have them matching those 2 things. We go through and talk about all the different sections of them. Activities are everything they did in their while they were in high school, both in Winchester High, in the community, and outside. They should be listing those. They can list up to 10. Most students don't have 10. And the ones that have 10, probably based on hours, it may not add up, but we'll go with it. Some students do. It can be anything. We encourage them to include work, if you're babysitting, if you're working, if you're playing sports. They all go in there because they tell schools, what are you doing outside of school other than in your classwork? Okay? It has a great feature once they get them in. They have little arrows, they can move them up and down. We say don't do it chronologically. If you played 1 year of freshman soccer, it should not be the first thing on your activities list. Okay? It might be number 10. You lead with the things you spend the most time with, that you're most passionate about, because those are what give them the most about you. Remember, readers, folks who are reading, they're speed readers. So they're looking fast and furiously through these things. We want to lead with the things we want them to see most. So that goes in there. The general essay, additional information section, if they have something that, hey, this could not fit on this application, where do I put it? I once had a student who, you can only list, I think, 5 siblings or 6. He had 9, and he said, can I tell them that? I was like, please tell them that. So that went in additional info. Sometimes it's hard to explain that something has happened, and you feel like they say your application would not be complete without this information, okay? But it's what's happened, during high school, what's gone on. This is where they can self-report their test scores. If they're not using test scores, skip that section. It will say, are you sharing test scores? Yes or no? If they say yes, it will ask for them. If they say no, they get a green check and move on. So we did that with them so that everybody got their education section done and that it's consistent. We then linked their Naviance and Common App, one-time thing. We also completed the FERPA, which is the release that allows us to send their information to schools. Back in the day, students used to have to sign a form and they have to request them. Because they've given us permission, we now can send their information freely to all their schools. They most completed their education section, or a good chunk of it. We know how busy they are. We know they're trying to do everything at once, so again, we're happy to have them for that 67 minutes to do this. The FERPA also includes whether they waive or don't waive their rights to read the recommendation letters. Winchester High School does not allow students to read their letters while they're ever. If they don't waive their right, they have to wait and go to admissions once they're accepted and enroll, once they matriculate, and then they can read their letters. We explain to students that colleges very much prefer that you waive your right, because then they know there was no influence, and they put more weight behind those recommendation letters if they know that. Please know, no teacher or any counselor is going to write anything bad about a student. If they didn't have something positive to say, a teacher would have said, I think you can find another option that would work better. And that happens on occasion. So we really encourage students to waive that, knowing that it will then put more weight behind those letters and help their applications for the schools that take them. Again, some schools don't take letters of recommendation, some of the larger schools. We did that. We talked about their next steps. They're fine-tuning that list. Maybe they're taking another SAT or ACT. Maybe they're going to look at a school, or they're asking questions, and they're trying to figure out, what's my list? Again, I always tell everybody, ABC. A is here where I think I'm applying. Then once I find out, if I'm successful, I go right to C, see where I'm going. If it's not successful, we have our B plan. And they're going to keep shifting. They might change their mind, as they get a little further along or see more options. We always tell them to tell us if they're applying early decision. They should be listing it in their Naviance, but on occasion, believe it or not, they don't update it and we don't know. So we always want to make sure. We always want to make sure their applications and their requests, transcripts, are telling us how they're applying. An early deadline, early action or early decision, are typically the beginning of November. Regular is typically January. That's a 2-month difference between how fast we need to get that information there. So we want to make sure we have all that information. Again, we try to process it all. And on occasion, there are students who apply to Common App schools who don't use the Common App. Even though agreeing to be in the Common App, you're supposed to say we won't do our own application. But on occasion they have them. They have special ones for maybe you toured, or maybe you're being recruited and they want you to use the school-specific one. That's okay, or they're giving you a fee waiver. Go for it. They have to tell us, because we will keep trying to send their information through Common App, and if they didn't apply that way, we will be unsuccessful. So we'll always ask them that. How can you help them? Okay? I've shared all the information we shared with them. Again, this is, we want them to own it, but we also know who they are, and they're thinking of all the different pieces. Research. Help them with the application. We tell students before you submit, print out a hard copy. Show it to your parents. Let someone look at it, an extra set of eyes. I once had a student spell Winchester wrong through their whole application, and they just didn't see it. And I was like, well, let's fix that. We did. That's fine. But again, you look at something too long, you miss it. Help them understand admissions decisions. I tell our students all the time, almost every one of our students could get into any school and be successful there, but unfortunately they can't take 367 students from Winchester. So this might be their first big disappointment, okay? And we try to support them through that. And they do need, we want them they need to experience it. They might say they don't care, but we know they care because that's why they picked that school. And they can be upset about it, and we want them to dust themselves off. And this is where resilience comes. If this is their first big disappointment, they have led a charmed life for 17, 18 years, and that's awesome. If this is the worst thing that happens to them in life, that is also awesome. but at the same time, when I'm 17 and don't get into my top school, I don't have the thought process of a 50-year-old, okay? So we want them to understand that, okay? And some of them will also, they'll go through the process of where do I apply? And then they're back at you in March and April because those deposits are due May 1st, and they're like, I like 4 of them, I don't know where to go. Okay, that's a good problem to have. Okay, so we have to have that. Help them remember their passwords. A lot of students, we said, a lot of students pick up on what we say in our junior workshop, but have a application email, whatever it is, ONSO 2026, and share that with your parents, because we know how many emails they get here on your Gmail, their student Gmail, plus home. That way 2 people are looking at it. Share your portal stuff with your parents, we encourage them, because that way a second set of eyes can look, okay? Please don't beat them to the punch and submit their applications before they do. I once had a student do that, a parent do that, and the student was devastated because they worked so hard on their application and their parent wanted it in that day, and the student went someplace else, they came home and their parent had already pushed submit. And they were just crushed because they didn't get the moment. They didn't get the confetti that goes in the air. Literally, confetti flies in the Common App when you submit. This is their big moment. Do it with them, celebrate with them. If I help a student apply, I always slide over my mouse, they hit submit, because that's their moment. Please let them have their moment. Again, help them with the Common App section. Family, don't be afraid to stand in the kitchen while you're making dinner and say, any questions for me? You wondering about something? They'll think about it. Proofreading. All counselors, so once we finish, we started with our freshmen. If you remember 4 short years ago, we make all of our freshmen the first week of school. They find out who we are, where the guidance offices. Then seniors own us. So we're finishing these workshops, then all counselors are reaching out to schedule appointments in different ways. Myself, I've already booked appointments and sent meeting requests to all my students, because I've learned that if I wait for them to do it, they all try to show up in the same week. And they all try to show up in the same 2 inbox, and I can't do it. So I spread them out, and that way, more time. So all counselors reach out, and they all encourage them in our workshop. Hey, follow up with me. Okay? We share this with everybody. Financial aid, huge piece, again, with the cost of college. The Massachusetts Educational Financing Authority, or as we like to say, MEFA offers amazing information. Webinars, they record them. They are fantastic. So if you're just starting this process and need to understand more about the FAFSA, which is the federal application for financial aid, which students really work with their parents for that. And some schools require the CSS profile if they're private schools, which is similar to the FAFSA, but just ask more detailed questions. So we highly encourage folks to check out this website. There's so much great information, and they host webinars. You can ask questions. We sadly are teachers, so we had student debt, most of us, so we can tell you our sad tale, but we really can't walk them through the process. So we encourage folks to take advantage of that as much as possible. Okay, thank you all so much for coming. Counselors have been here all day, so we're going to get them home so they can be back here tomorrow morning. Thank you so much.